Okay, to every single one of you who finds their way back here, reading after reading, who sits with these messages and carries them into your week, who takes the time to write what you felt, what shifted, what finally made sense. I am grateful for you, genuinely. This channel exists in the shape it does because of the energy you pour into it. Your comments, your presence, the trust you extend every time you press play on one of these videos, I do not take any of that lightly. And to those of you who are here for the very first time, welcome. You chose this video for a reason, even if that reason has not made itself fully clear to you yet. Give it a few minutes, it will. Now let me step into what I am seeing for you today, because the energy around this reading has been buzzing since the moment I sat down with it. Your phone. I want you to think about your phone for a moment, not as a device, as a portal, as the thin piece of glass and metal that stands between your current life and a conversation that is going to change something. Because what I am feeling in the energy around you right now, Virgo, is the particular vibration of something incoming. Not a message you have to send, not an effort you have to make. Something coming to you, moving toward you right now from a direction you may not have been watching. And the reason I need you to stay in this reading, the reason I am asking you not to scroll past this, is because what is coming is not what you think it is. The image that opens this reading is one I have not seen before in this exact form. I see two vessels, like cups, ancient and ceremonial, the kind that were made to hold something of significance, not just liquid, but meaning. And these two vessels are positioned facing each other with a distance between them that has clearly been there for some time. You can feel the history of that distance just by looking at the image. It was not always there. Something happened that placed it there. And in the time since, both vessels have been sitting in their separate spaces, holding their separate contents in a silence that became its own kind of language. But now, one of the vessels is moving, not rushed, not dramatic, but with a deliberate, unmistakable intention, crossing the distance that had started to feel permanent, and what it is carrying inside it as it moves is not simple. It is layered. It is more than one thing at once. And that is what I need to tell you about, because you might be expecting one thing from this contact. And what actually arrives is going to be several things arriving together, wrapped in the same moment. Let us talk about the apology first. Because, yes, there is an apology in this. I will not pretend otherwise. Someone in your life, or someone who was in your life, has been sitting with something they did or said or failed to do or failed to say, and the weight of it has become too heavy to keep carrying without addressing it. And they are going to reach out in some form, a call, a message, an unexpected appearance, some form of contact that breaks a silence you may have stopped expecting to be broken. And your first instinct, Virgo, knowing you, is going to be to brace, to prepare yourself for disappointment, to manage your own expectations before they have a chance to become hope and then hurt. Because you have been here before in some version of this. You have received apologies that were really just requests dressed in the language of accountability. You have seen someone reach out and felt that quiet pull of hope, only to find that what was being offered was not quite what you needed it to be. I understand why you would brace, but I need you to hear this clearly. What is coming is not that. The second image that comes through hits differently. I see a figure standing in an open field, and the sky above them is doing something extraordinary. It is shifting, not storming, not clearing, but genuinely transforming from one thing into something else entirely in real time, right above this person's head. Colors that do not usually exist together. A quality of light that makes everything it touches look both more fragile and more precious at the same time. And this figure is not looking at the ground. They are not looking at where they came from. They are looking directly up with an expression that I can only describe as someone who has finally, after a long time of deciding, chosen to stop pretending that they do not feel what they feel. This image is not about you, Virgo. This is the person who is about to reach out to you. This is what is happening inside them right now, in this moment, before they have made contact. This is the internal shift that is driving what is coming your way. And what it tells me is that whoever this is, they have arrived at something real. Something that took longer than it should have, yes. Something you should not have had to wait for, yes. But something genuine. The sky above them has changed, and they know it, and they are finally ready to say so. Now, I want to tell you what the unexpected part actually is, because this is where the reading opens into something larger than a simple reconciliation or a clearing of the air between two people. What this person is bringing is not only sorry, they are bringing a door. I see it clearly. Behind everything they are going to say, behind the words of acknowledgement and the admission of what they got wrong, there is something else being offered. An opening, a possibility, something that, if you choose to walk toward it, redirects the trajectory of your life in a way that the version of you from 6 months ago would not have been able to fully receive. And that is important, that timing. The fact that this is arriving now in this season of your life and not earlier is not an accident, and it is not cruelty. It is precision, because the version of you that exists right now, the one that has done the quiet, unglamorous work of rebuilding your own sense of self after whatever distance or difficulty preceded this moment, that version of you can actually handle what is being brought. Earlier, it might have swept you off your feet in ways that would not have served you. Now it lands differently. Now you can look at it clearly, feel it fully, and make a grounded decision about what you actually want to do with it. I need to pause here and ask you something honest. Is there someone specific who came to mind the moment this reading started? A name, a face, a voice that appeared somewhere in the back of your awareness and has been quietly sitting there while I have been speaking? You do not have to say who, but I want you to hold that awareness, because these readings are not generic. The energy is specific, and your intuition is responding to something specific right now. The person who came to mind, pay attention to that. Your instincts around this are sharper than you give them credit for. Tell me in the comments if someone came to mind. You do not have to share details, just tell me yes or no. Tell me if you felt something shift when I described that figure standing in the field looking up. Tell me if that image landed somewhere real for you. Let me speak now about what this moment is going to ask of you. Because receiving something unexpected requires a different kind of readiness than receiving something you have been anticipating. When you are expecting something, you have had time to rehearse your response, to decide in advance how you will feel and what you will say, and how much space you will allow it to take up in you. But when something arrives unexpectedly, all of that preparation dissolves, and you are left with just yourself, just your instincts, just the raw and unscripted version of your own response. And Virgo, your raw and unscripted self is something worth trusting. The thing I want to prepare you for is this: there will be a moment right at the beginning of this contact when your mind is going to want to take over. It is going to want to analyze the timing, cross reference the words being used against previous conversations, assess the consistency of this person's behavior over time, build a case for whether this is trustworthy or not before you have even finished hearing what they have to say. Let the mind note what it notices, but let the body speak first. Because your body, Virgo, your nervous system, the part of you that registers safety and danger before the thinking brain has caught up, that part is going to tell you something very true in the first few seconds of this contact. And if what it tells you is that something has genuinely changed, trust that. I see another image now that carries real weight. Two hands, and they are not shaking hands. That is not the quality of this gesture. These are hands that are finding each other after a time apart. One hand extended with a quality of offering rather than grasping. The other hand, and this is the one I want to speak to, this other hand is not immediately reaching back. It is hovering, not in rejection, in consideration, in that very particular Virgo space between feeling and deciding, where you are gathering all of the information your senses are offering you before you commit to a direction. And there is such quiet power in that hovering hand, such dignity, such refusal to be rushed into a response that is not fully yours. This image is a message to you. You do not have to decide anything immediately. You do not owe anyone a real-time response to something that has been building for a long time. The hovering hand is not coldness. It is self-respect in action. It is the recognition that your response to this moment matters, that it deserves to come from a place of genuine clarity rather than from the relief of finally being seen. Take your time. The door being offered is not going to close the moment you pause to consider it honestly. Now, I want to speak to those of you for whom this is not about a romantic connection, because I have been feeling two different streams in this energy, and I want to honor both of them. For some of you, yes, this is someone you loved or still love in that particular and complicated way, and everything I have described applies to that dimension of the reading fully. But for others, this unexpected contact is professional or familial, or it comes from someone who occupied a significant role in your life that was not romantic, but that carried its own kind of weight and its own kind of loss when it ended or fractured. A mentor, a business partner, a family member who went quiet, a friendship that dissolved under circumstances that were never fully resolved. The energy of the unexpected element, the door being carried behind the words of acknowledgement that applies across all of these streams. What is being offered is not just the mending of what broke. It is something that did not exist before the break. Something that could only have been born out of the time and distance and the individual growth that each of you did separately while you were not in contact. This is not a return to what was. This is an invitation into something that has never existed before. Let me describe the last image that has been waiting at the edge of this reading. I see a letter, not a digital message, an actual letter, the kind that requires deliberate physical effort to create and send. And this letter is sealed. The seal is intact, which means it has not yet been opened. It is sitting in a space that belongs to you, waiting for the moment you choose to break that seal and read what is inside. And what I feel emanating from this sealed letter is extraordinary. It is not dread. It is not the weight of bad news or difficult confrontation. What comes from it is something much closer to the feeling of a long-held breath finally being released, as if the very act of this letter existing, of these words having been written and sent in your direction, has already begun to resolve something that needed resolving. You have not even opened it yet in this image, and something is already shifting. This is what I want you to understand about the contact that is coming. The significance of it is not only in what it says, it is in the fact that it was sent at all. It is in the decision that someone made after however long to move toward you rather than to continue maintaining the distance. That decision itself carries information. That decision itself is part of what is being given to you. And you, Virgo, with that extraordinary mind of yours that catches every detail, you are going to feel the full weight of what that decision means the moment this contact arrives. I want to close this reading by speaking to something I feel very strongly. You have carried the silence well. That is not a small thing. The ability to continue building yourself, continue showing up, continue living with integrity and intention during a period when something was unresolved, when a connection was fractured, when words that needed to be said had not yet been said. That takes a particular kind of strength, a quiet kind. The kind that does not get enough acknowledgement because it does not make noise. But I see it. And more importantly, the energy of what is coming toward you sees it. The unexpected nature of what is being brought is, in part, a response to who you have been during the silence. People sense growth even across distance. They feel when someone has shifted into a version of themselves that is more settled, more certain, more fully inhabiting their own life. And that sensing, that awareness of who you have become while they were not watching is part of what finally moved them. You became undeniable, Virgo. Even in the quiet, even without performing it, even without making sure anyone was paying attention. You just kept becoming more yourself, and that has a gravity that eventually reaches people whether they intended to be reached or not. So when this contact comes, receive it from that place, from the place of someone who knows their own worth, who does not need this call in order to be okay, but who can choose from a position of genuine strength what role they want this unexpected opening to play in the next chapter of their life. You are not waiting to be chosen. You are choosing, and that changes everything about what this moment means. If this reading landed somewhere real for you today, I want to hear from you in the comments. Tell me what came up. Tell me who came to mind. Tell me whether the unexpected element resonates, whether you sense something incoming that you have not quite been able to name until now. This space is a real conversation, and what you share here shapes what comes next. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting this space with something as tender as hope. I will see you in the next one.